Okay, so Noble's a Raptors fan, Collin. You got a favorite team?
I do not.
Okay.
I just have favorite players.
Okay.
Damian Lillard's a
Yeah,
top.
bring that on
Nice.
camera.
It's a good pick.
The drink. Should, can I bring it on camera?
Look at this amateur. Goodness. Drinking energy drink.
Do you guys have like a worst interview you've ever done? Like you log off and you're like, that was rough.
Is this live right now? Oh, snap.
Noble. He wants to know where you're from.
Where your family from?
Uganda. You can tell? That's what's up.
Let's go. All right, you guys ready to rock?
Yes, sir.
All
Ready
right.
to roll.
Welcome in, everybody, to Phoenix Rising Live. My name is Joe Lowery. I'm your color commentator here for Phoenix Rising, joined by two important people next to me, Collin Smith and Noble Okello, both first-year Phoenix Rising players. Collin, thanks for joining me. Noble, thanks for joining.
It's a pleasure being here.
How you guys doing?
Good. Thank
All
you for
good.
having us.
Let's go. Yeah, we gotta get that.
super
Gotta get that mic
excited.
up. Let's go. All right, so I want to talk about all sorts of different things over the next 30 or so minutes. We can also take some questions as well. I want to talk about your backgrounds, Phoenix, why Phoenix Rising, your thoughts on preseason so far, and a bunch more ahead of Saturday's opener, which is the big thing circled on the calendar right now. I'll start with you, Collin. Your first season heading into 2025 with Phoenix Rising. Why Phoenix? How did this move come about for you? Obviously, you've known Pa and you've known Vic before on the coaching staff. How did this move come together?
For sure. So that was definitely one of the decisions that I had to make along with my family and everything. But ultimately, it comes down to me. They've always kind of treated me like an adult whenever it comes to big time decisions. So luckily, I had that under my belt. If not, might have been a bad thing. But Phoenix was good for me because Pa, like you said, I worked with him previously and Vic as well. So that was a huge piece of the development that I was looking for because I feel like last year I had specific goals that I set for myself that I wasn't able to quite reach. So then looking at this year for what I want to accomplish as a player and then as well as with the team, like just kind of it checked all the boxes for me. So it was super good being able to kind of just have another reunion with those guys and as well as the group. It's just a good group. They've won a championship. I've seen them compete several years. And so, yeah, it was just all those things look very attractive for me.
I love it. And we're going to get to the other half of this roommate pair, by the way, more roommate questions later. Noble, for you, you've been around the North American soccer sphere for a while with Toronto. You've played in other places in North America as well. How did this move come about for you? Why Phoenix Rising for the next step in your career?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me to make the decision just because I played against Pa for many years, like in the Canadian Championship and stuff like that. So, I mean, it made sense when they reached out to me, and Bobby and Pa made me feel very comfortable in making my decision. So, yeah, it made sense to make the next step to come to Phoenix.
What did you heard? Collin talked a little bit about, knowing something about Phoenix Rising and seeing them compete. What did you know about Phoenix Rising or Phoenix as a city? Did you have much in the back of your mind when you heard, okay, Phoenix Rising are interested?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing my football in Toronto, so I started playing in the USL there, and I always heard about Phoenix, Louisville, and the West Coast and stuff like that. So when I heard Phoenix was interested in me, I already knew about the club. I already knew about the championships that they had, and obviously they're a winning team and winning club. It was very easy for me to make the decision, like I said. So, yeah.
Collin, I want to ask you to go back to Pa for a second. First year as well for him here in Phoenix. You've worked with him before in North Texas. Your thoughts sort of on his coaching style. If somebody asked you, if Noble came up and asked you, hey, dude, like, how do you describe Pa? How would you go about communicating that to somebody who hasn't been around him before?
I would say the best way to describe it is he really tests you as a person and as a player. So for me, I feel like that's a kind of a big piece because a lot of guys, like, you think you're going there just for the football, but you get to learn a little bit more about yourself, about what it means to be a group, have that camaraderie, have that collectiveness. And so all those things are huge whenever you're pushing towards a championship. So I would probably say those few things. And then for football, just bravery, kind of being yourself out there, not really shying away from anything. No mistakes, none of that. It's at the end of the day, it's just the confidence that you have in yourself and what he and the coaching staff instills in you. And so that's probably the best way I would summarize it.
I like it. Collin mentions bravery there, Noble. I've heard you also talk about being a pack of wolves already in preseason. Noble, in this preseason, have there been like regular Pa-isms that are coming up where it's things that he talks about a lot or phrases he likes to use, little triggers that he uses? Are there any of those things for him so far in preseason?
Yeah, like Colin said, I think Pa's a big character for the team. Obviously, he has a big personality, and he pushes our standards every day to work hard and meet the goals that he set out, whether it's small things like cleaning up the locker room, cleaning up around the facility. You know, he sets standards for all of us to maintain, and I think that, you know, it affects us on the field, and we can see that, especially in the last couple of games. And this past one that we had against each other, you could see that it's starting to come together. So, yeah.
Like Collin smiling at that mention of the inter-squad scrimmage. Yeah. Did that post-game punishment, whatever it was that was rumored, has it happened yet, Collin?
It has not. The punishment is hopefully just everyone is working just as hard and training as once again push towards the championship. But there's no punishment. We're all pushed towards the same goal. So, I mean, we're all on the same page.
All right, I like it. I want to ask you, Collin, thinking about preseason so far with just a few days until the home opener against Tulsa, you know, what has impressed you the most about this group? What is the thing that has really stuck with you and said, man, we're grasping onto the style quickly, or you know, this position group has really impressed in a way that maybe you didn't expect? What has really popped in preseason?
How quickly the group came together, because I've been with some groups who kind of over the course of the season, there's still that early kind of stage where you're still getting acclimated to each other, still kind of building the bonds. But I feel like this group's a special group. We all have those bonds that we've set since day one, and everyone's bought in. Everyone's picking up how each other play. And so I feel like I'm most excited this weekend to see finally the group come together on where it really matters. And we just had the inter squad that you mentioned, and we're both kind of playing the same way. We all have the same styles. We're all learning the same things, and we still managed to go 3-3 and end the penalties. So I feel like that just also shows like the determination that the group has in order to really just get results and want to win, that eagerness to win.
I love it. And I made Collin Noble describe Pa to somebody who hasn't been around him. I want to have you describe your impressions of how this team is playing tactically. We saw that 4-3-3 on Friday night. We saw a commitment to using the ball. How do you describe to fans or to people even in your own life when they ask you, hey, Noble, like what are we going to see from you and then by extension from this team on the field this season?
Well, not giving away too much secrets to, you know, other teams, but I would say that I think Pa and our team has a very attractive style of play. I think we play, you know, with eagerness, and we want to keep the ball. We want to go forward. We want to press high up the field. So I think the fans will see a very balanced team with a lot of creativity as well. And, yeah, I think everyone should come and support us on Saturday, and it will be a good game for everyone to see new faces, new people. And, yeah, so.
Sticking with you, Noble, I want to drill down a little bit more into your soccer background. And maybe to start with this, you're a really unique profile in central midfield. You don't see a lot of guys that are as tall as you are in this sport, period, right? You know, are there players that you modeled your game after growing up, players that you watched and said, I want to be like that, I want to do that?
I think naturally, like growing up, I watched pretty much all like the superstars, Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldinho inspired me to play, watching him on YouTube and stuff like that. But I think I modeled my game most after like Yaya Toure, Paul Pogba, people like this. I watch very closely, and I guess it helped me and with my feet and stuff like this to be able to play in the middle of the park. But I try to keep my game and my version of myself when I play the game. I don't really try and look too much at other people because I'm very much different than Yaya Toure and Paul Pogba, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, I love it. Everybody's going to have their own twist on how they're interpreting your central midfield position.
Yeah.
Collin, I guess sort of similar question for you. Players that you watched growing up that inspired you or that made you sort of model your game on that right side, or maybe starting out a little higher up in the attack and now playing more as that right back. Players that you watched and said, yeah, I want to do some of those things too.
Yeah, similar to Noble. Like, I grew up watching Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, and that was until I got converted to right back. And then once I got converted to right back, I started watching more players like Dani Alves, Kyle Walker, Reece James, even Trent Alexander-Arnold. I watched a little bit of everything because as I was kind of learning, I felt like the best way to learn was just taking a little bit from each person's game, each player's game, and then kind of being able to translate it to mine.
And you're in Dallas for quite a while, coming up through some of the youth ranks, playing for North Texas, you know, playing for FC Dallas as well. A lot of really talented players, both young and old, in that Dallas crop that sort of you're coming up with. Players like Jesus Ferreira and Paxton Pomacole, Tanner Test. I mean, the list goes on and on. A lot of really, really impressive players coming through that, yourself included. When you think about those guys and those groups in Dallas with players that have gone on to do a lot of different things, is there a lesson that sort of stuck with you, or a moment in training or a moment on the field where one of those players does something and you think, man, that's got to stick with me?
I don't really have a specific quote that I would say that one of the players kind of told me, but just being around the group of guys day in and day out, being around the highest level, like you just learn the maturity that goes along with the development and just everything that's really necessary in order to develop and really reach those kind of ceilings and even push beyond those. And so I would say a few things like that really resonated with me, just being with the first team for that long.
Yeah, I mean, makes perfect sense. And Noble, I'm sure similar things for you, being in Toronto for as long as you were, around legends of the game, Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Jonathan Osorio. I mean, the list goes on and on with that group as well. I'm curious for you, being around players that were veterans and had been in this game for so long and competed at the highest levels, was there something from your time in Toronto that really does still stick with you and influence how you think about the game and how you approach the game on the field as well?
Yeah, like you said, I had a lot of veteran players that were actually in their prime in Toronto and really making a stand out in North America, whether it was in the MLS or CONCACAF Champions League and leagues like this. I think one player that really stuck out for me was Michael Bradley, how he kind of took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes of what it means to be a pro and how to behave like a pro on and off the field. But even with the Canadian national team, you know, one of my friends, Alphonso Davies, like somebody that is my same age that I grew up with pretty much my whole life with the national team from U12 all the way to the first team. You see how he took it every day, serious, and what it brought him. So, yeah, I think being around such great talents like you mentioned, Jonathan Osorio, Michael Bradley, but even people that are closer to me, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. I mean, a lot of really talented players that you came up with and up against with that Toronto crop, and same for you, Collin, in Dallas. If anybody out in the audience has questions at any point, you're more than welcome to come up and ask. We've got a microphone up there, and we can get you involved in this show as well. I want to turn back to you all while we let maybe some folks ruminate on some questions and ask a little bit more about the coaching staff this year. Collin, for you, already talked about you playing with Pa, you playing with Vic. Darnell King, one of the other coaches in that inter-squad scrimmage the other night, also a former defender, former right back, played a lot of right back for Phoenix Rising. Have you talked at all with Darnell about the specifics of that right back position and how, yes, Pa wants that position to look in his game model, but also, you know, taking out from Darnell's experience playing that role for this team and in this league?
Yes, we've connected on several things because I believe we have a similar profile when it comes to speed and just really the few things that he's kind of connected with me on, being the crossing, the defensive aspect that goes along with the game, just all these things that we've connected on. I feel like that's why in the inter squad, being on Vic's team, that was my first win in an inter squad. I had played 3 matches with Vic or against Vic that I had lost, so luckily I was able to win being on Vic's squad. But that's why it kind of was a little bit different going against Darnell now that he's told me everything to kind of look for and model my game after and everything, and then now I'm going against him, so he's like, "Oh, guys, you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this." So
he's spilling all your secrets, man. Yeah.
So it was exciting, and that was a challenge for me. But yeah, I'm looking to kind of still build that relationship with him. But it's been great so far.
I love that. Speaking of building relationships, I want to ask the two of you about your time as roommates so far. Noble, for you, thoughts on Collin as a roommate? How he spends his time, how he interacts with you, dishes done, dishes not done. Where are we at on all of this?
He snores so loud, like he keeps me up all night. Nah, I'm joking. Collin's a good roommate. You know, he's always on time for things and helps me be on time for things, you know. But I think it's good that we get along really well, and on and off the field, it makes it easy for us to do things, you know. So, yeah, he's a good roommate.
I love that. All right, Collin, now I got to turn it to you. You can tell us for real if Noble snores. It's fine. It's not a problem. You don't have to back out like he did.
No, I could say the same thing. I mean, he's the cook. I'm definitely not the cook.
Right.
So he takes care of the dishes and everything that you mentioned, the trash, everything else that is kind of.
Okay, what's on your plate then? Hold on.
I mean, that's what I feel like we kind of connect whenever it comes to those things. So trash, like if it gets full, I throw it out one day, and the next day, I don't know, he maybe cooks, it gets full, and then he throws it out. We're kind of always on the same page, so no, nothing really sticks out like a sore thumb there.
I like you. All right, well, I want to turn to Chef Noble then. This is new information for me. What's a go-to dish? What's on the meal prep sort of a rotation? Where are we at in our culinary journey at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a chef, first and foremost. I'm not that established yet, but I can throw down some pasta, bolognese, steak, chicken, basics. But I cook for myself. I don't cook for anybody else to try, so it's not that good, but it's decent.
Let's go.
I'll say that.
How we cooking the steak? This is the crucial stuff.
I like it medium well.
Okay.
Some people might
You
like
didn't have
it.
to say that, by the way. It's okay.
I don't like it medium, none of that.
You do
Medium
cook for
well.
yourself. All right. This is
Yeah.
good to know.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, that's great to hear. I want to go through some more thoughts on the club and sort of what you all have observed so far since you've arrived over the offseason into Saturday night. And I want to ask, Collin, from your perspective, there's a lot of talk this time of year about the group, right? And that's obviously a really pivotal thing. I wanted to dig it a little deeper into that and look at some individual players. I'm curious for you, has there been throughout preseason a player, it could be an academy player, J-Mo, getting his first contract at such a young age. Is there a player that's really impressed you or something that you've seen change in one of your teammates that has stood out in a way that maybe you didn't expect?
The leadership aspect. A lot of guys kind of going into preseason early on, like I'm familiar with the players who were here from the previous year, and I didn't realize kind of what the leadership group had kind of asked of them in the year before, but now kind of being with them and just being with Pa and having our respective leaders, I've just learned a lot about really who can kind of, I guess, take charge of the group and be in charge of those things. And then on top of that, I feel like what's more important is the fact that the whole group is kind of really just learning after one another. So I wouldn't say there's a person that is like, okay, this is our set leader, but I've seen leadership virtues from that person. And then now it's just kind of going through the whole group. Even J-Mo, like you mentioned, I feel like the academy kids that are kind of coming up to train with us, I feel like he's the first one to kind of take them under their wing and tell them really what it takes to be at the level that we are playing on. So
And Pa has talked a lot about youth, right? And this team has gotten younger from last year to this year. You both have played with organizations in the past in Toronto and Dallas that really were emphasizing bringing through young players, right? Noble, a lot of young players coming through with you in Toronto. Collin, same with you. We talked about this earlier. Noble, from your perspective, in that you've been in the shoes of someone like Jamison Ping before, how do you help bring those players along? Do you feel sort of like a responsibility that maybe you've been in their shoes before? You want to try to help bring them along in the way that you were brought along under the wing of someone like Michael Bradley?
Yeah, I mean, I know how it feels, first and foremost. I know
Right.
how, like, every day, you're with grown men and you have to understand that the conversations might be different. The way you interact might be different. So, yeah, I definitely get them and I get how they feel, but it also puts me in a different light and tries to make me try to be a better leader for them on and off the field because we see each other every day. So I think that, yeah, I understand what they may be going through and what they may be thinking every day in training, but I guess it puts me under a new role too to help push them and reach the next level and reach new heights within Phoenix Rising. So yeah.
Collin, do you and J-Mo bond over the fact that you both have homework to do on a regular basis? Enrolled, correct me if I'm wrong, enrolled at the University of Houston right now
yes,
online.
Sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. It's more so because he's on the younger than me. I make sure he's doing his work, and so I kind of give him a hard time about it. Like, hey, don't you have to go home and do homework? And then I'm saying that to him, but then
It's like,
I'm
have
also
4
going
assignments
home.
later too, man.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing, so I kind of just mess with him about it.
I like it. I believe we do have a question that has been submitted. Lay it on us.
So our friend Jen on YouTube wants to know if Noble sees himself as more of a 6 or an 8, because from scrimmages it seems that he can play both really well.
I love it. Noble, did you hear that all right? Do you see yourself as more of a 6 or an 8? Sort of how have you been a defensive midfielder or more of a box-to-box guy? How do you see yourself in this team, and how has Pa used you primarily so far this early season?
Yeah, I think Pa has a good way of controlling us midfielders, whether it's Carl, JP, myself, JMO, Hope. I think when we play in the middle of the park, it doesn't really matter where you play because we all have the same responsibilities, whether it's offensively or defensively. So I think for me, I don't really mind where I play, whether it's 6 or 8. I just know that with Coach Pa's coaching and what he's looking for, it's kind of really the same thing. So I guess it doesn't matter to me. It would be the answer.
Maybe less about the position than and more about the traits that you like to show on the field. Do you prefer to be able to open up a little bit and to stride box to box and to carry the ball forward out of midfield? Or do you feel more comfortable holding a little bit deeper, sort of shifting and shielding that back four?
I guess it depends, like the game, I would say. But more time than not, I feel like 6 and 8 nowadays is kind of like the same thing. I feel like in the game, when you watch football now, the number 10 is really non-existent no more. It's more of 8s that are playing and 6s that are playing more, that share that responsibility more often. So I think, yeah, it depends on the game, but I don't mind playing 6 or 8 or same thing for me, really.
Yeah, fair enough. And Collin, for you, you've played as a winger before. You played as a right back. You played as a wing back as well. How do you think about the differences between those roles? Or for you, is it, my job doesn't really change that much because especially now in POS system as a right back, you're still playing high and wide?
I believe it changes, but the best thing about being a previous winger that got converted is just knowing a little bit about both positions. So now defensively, when the winger's attacking me, I feel like I have a better idea of what he wants to do, and then vice versa. Whenever I'm the one attacking the left back, then I'm like, okay, I feel like I kind of see where he wants me to go and where he's trying to push me, so I'm going to go the opposite way. But those little things definitely help out a lot. But kind of to your question, I feel like you kind of have to know when to turn on both. So whenever I'm in the kind of the back half, thinking as a fullback, and then once I'm in the attacking half, I get to think more like a winger and kind of go more direct and just kind of help out the team any chance I get.
Do you remember, or maybe when was that switch for you, where it's like, all right, Collin, you've been a winger for us. We need you further back a line. That happens, right? That's a transition that's not just one that you've made. It's happened to all sorts of players. When was that moment for you, and how did you feel about it? Because that is a change, and maybe even like a slight ego hit too in some ways.
There were a lot of moments where just through the whole developmental process of becoming a right back, like I feel like my first story was in a preseason match with FC Dallas. I used to be super far behind the line instead of keeping a straight line. So that was the first thing, because I think I was maybe 10, 15 yards back. The center back next to me, Kosi Safari, he was actually on LAFC. We played against him in preseason. That was cool seeing him. But he was the one that told me, he was
yelling
like,
at
man,
you to get forward.
Yeah, he was like, man, you got to get up with the line. I was like, all right. Next play, I was 10 yards back. He was like, man, get up with the line. Next time I was like, maybe like 5 to 7. He was like, Collin, I'm not telling you again. I was like, all right. So then that was my first lesson there. And then kind of just going through the ranks and kind of getting that experience playing at the highest level, being a younger player, also kind of finding that, having that gauge of, oh, am I too high, am I too low? And you kind of, just with experience, you kind of learn. So that's the beauty of it.
I love that, man. That's a great story. I can see that happening. I mean, it's got to be uncomfortable, right, as a defender to step forward and to be on that high line. You feel more comfortable deeper downfield. When you are closer to your own goal, you can see more of the space. You can see more of what's happening around you. Like, how did you grow to become more comfortable being in that slightly higher line, knowing that yes, it comes with risks, but also like it is crucial to keep in that line?
Really just trusting the process and what I've learned. Like there was, just slowly but surely, kind of like the story, getting 15, 10, 5, then up with the line and being confident of the line and just making the attackers kind of be a little bit more honest as well. Like making sure if he wants to run in behind, he's offsides anyway, so don't really get baited that way. And just through trainings and everything, and of course working with the staff and even teammates, countless reps, just kind of working on those things. All those things help me out in the long run. So I feel like that's why I have a better idea, and that's why I'm able to kind of, use all that to my advantage now.
I love it. Noble, I want to go back to you. You talked about leadership a little bit before and sort of feeling a bit more empowered at times to take on that sort of role. I want to ask you a little bit about Pop Marboy, who's the captain of this team in 2025, just his second year with the club, one of the younger players still in the squad. What have you made of Pop in your interactions with him so far, and sort of how is that relationship between the two of you, and what are you seeing of his approach as a leader as well?
Yeah, Pop is a very good person, first and foremost. I think that he's a person that you want to be around all the time because he has good energy. He has good qualities as a human being. But, when we play on the field, he's a person that leads by example. I think he's somebody that gives off that type of energy for the rest of his teammates to kind of push on, and not with speaking so much, but maybe with his actions on the pitch. So, yeah, I think Pop has a lot of qualities that will make him an even better player, and the fans and everyone will see this year because he's had a great preseason, and we're excited for him as players, but also we want him to do well. So, yeah.
Are you seeing Collin, sticking with pop for a second, are you seeing him take on like a vocal leadership role? You're talking about Nkosi Tafare, who now is with LAFC, has been in with the U.S. men's national team before, yelling out instructions. That's a real thing, right? That's a thing that maybe at times folks watching don't always see or don't always hear because there's a lot going on. That communication is real. Is he taking on that role, or is there someone else in the back line that is sort of taking authority and ownership of that?
He's definitely taking on the role well because that's kind of what Pa wanted for he and his development, really. So I feel like he's just taking on the role well, but as I kind of mentioned earlier, I feel like the whole group kind of we all go as one. So whenever it comes to pushing up the line, it could come from the goalie, the left back, the center back, the six. Like, we all kind of just follow each other. And that's really what it's all about, I feel like, going into it with Pa, because he kind of instills that in the group, and once he instills it, not too many times there aren't too many times where he has to kind of repeat himself. The whole group is just kind of, they know that's what he demands, so then we kind of demand that of each other.
Noble, I want to go back over to you to zoom out on your career for a minute. Having appeared with Canada at the international level, what do you remember from your time with Canada? What has stuck with you since you've done that? And sort of, how do you think about that as one of the real pinnacle moments of your career so far?
Yeah, I think, when you're growing up, especially a Canadian kid in Toronto, you always see the likes of Thibaut Hutchinson, one of the Canadian legends, and Jonathan de Guzman, another Canadian legend. And you want to be like them, you want to reach that point in your career. And lucky enough for me, I was able to do that and play a couple of games with the national team, and hopefully I can do that again. But no, I mean, you come across players like Jonathan David, who's playing in League One, Mark Anthony Kane, big players that are playing at the international stage and across overseas, that help you realize that you can do it too, because you've grown up with them, you play with them in your life and in your career, in my career. So yeah, I mean, it's something I want to continue to strive for and reach back one day. So yeah, it's nice, it's good.
I love it. I want to run through a few rapid fire questions. Okay, are you guys ready? Collin, you first. Funniest guy in the locker room?
Marga's up there.
Yeah.
Marga's up there. He's a character.
Likes the spotlight? All right, Noble, would you concur, or do you got a different take?
The funniest?
Funniest guy. Or you can drop to second funniest because Mark is off the
There's
table.
so many.
All right, give me a list then. I want a list. All right, hit it.
I think DJ
Yeah.
is one for me.
Yep.
Sacco is one for me as well.
Nice.
One that people might not say, but I think my Toronto boy, Tristan Henry.
Love it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I love that. Okay, so Isan Sacco is a bit of a new face around here. I mean, a lot of new faces, right? Henry as well. What's been your impression of his personality? Like what is it about him that gets him on this list?
I think I don't know if it's the first time or second he's been in America, but he likes trying to push his boundaries to speak English.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it's fun
always
to
good.
be around him,
Yeah.
I love that. All right, I love it. All right, next question. Noble, we'll start with you this time. All right, locker room. Who's got the ox?
Yeah, Remy.
Remy?
Remy, for sure.
Is that a good thing that Remy's got the ox?
Yeah, because
All
he
right.
plays a variety,
Okay.
He's not playing one genre. So.
Love that. All right, Collins concur with that. I want to go to you, Collin. Favorite moment of your career so far? So, we haven't started 2025 yet. Look back for me. Favorite moment of your professional career, or, could be coming up to the youth ranks too.
The favorite moment of my career was probably when I made my MLS debut, because that was huge for me, and my goal is to always play at the highest level possible, because playing with the best players, I feel like that gives you the best test. So, I mean, getting the opportunity to do that and kind of looking back on the sacrifices and just kind of really just all those opportunities and moments that I took and then I also learned from, as well as having my parents and my sister actually there to back me up. All those things were cool to look back on whenever I finally was able to make my debut.
That's special, man. That's special. Noble for you. Favorite moment of your career so far?
Yeah, I mean, we already touched on it. Playing for the Canadian national
Yeah.
team, that was by far my favorite moment.
I love it. All right, next question. Favorite player, period. You mentioned some inspirations for both of you already. Favorite player, like the guy that you're going to ride with regardless. Collin, we got to start with you.
I like Neymar a lot.
Yeah?
I like Neymar a lot. He was always just the player for me that I just couldn't stop watching because he's so entertaining and everything. And there times where I was like, okay, Ronaldo's my favorite. And then I watched Messi clips. I'm like, oh, Messi's my favorite. But Neymar was always up there for me. And he's still my favorite. So
It's a
I'll
great
probably
pick.
say him.
It's a great pick. All right, I love that. Noble, for you, favorite player?
Yeah, I think I'll just say Messi because what he's done in football, I don't think anyone else has done really. So yeah,
It's a safe pick. Nobody can take issue with that. I want to know for both of you. We talked about favorite soccer player, favorite basketball player. Noble, you're a Toronto Raptors guy. Collin, you are a former youth basketball player. Favorite NBA player, Noble.
yeah. I think for me, I don't know. I think it'll be LeBron James for sure, just because of his work ethic and his ability. Yeah, by far LeBron is the best I've ever seen.
He's got the longevity too. All right, Collin, favorite NBA player.
For me, it's just I like too many. I like Jordan for his mentality. I think he's the GOAT. Also like LeBron because you also have to respect what he's done for the game and really just for the community around him. He's also a good role model. Damian Lillard, one of the quotes that really Paul likes to kind of, I guess, tell to the group a lot is just the hard work is undefeated. So I feel like Damian Lillard's a perfect example of that. Curry, his story. I just have several players that I enjoy and that I enjoy watching that I like for several reasons other than just what they bring basketball-wise.
You've cooked up a nice little all-star starting five right there. I like it. All right, I want to go back to soccer for a second. Last rapid-fire question, then one more question to close us out. Who's winning 1v1 cage match style between the two of you sitting next to me? Collin.
I already had a subtle fake kind of cage match with Marga, and we kind of went at it. And so that I feel like because I have experience, I'll go with myself.
Let's go. I like it. There's some evidence there. Noah, what do you got, man?
I'm gonna go with myself too. I think I'd win.
This is a problem with having only two people on this panel. All right, let's close this thing out. Looking ahead to Saturday, this is the last week of preseason. Season's about to start. Things change here. I want to know, does it feel different? Like, does something in you realize, I've been through this before, this is going to be a different cadence. These games mean something now in a way that the preseason games don't. Noble, for you, does something inside feel different as you look to Saturday?
I would say yes, because obviously it's the start of a new city for me, a new atmosphere, a new team. So I think it's very much excitement and I'm looking forward to the game. But in terms of what, as a team, we're looking to do, no, because I think we've been doing this for 6 weeks. I think, we know exactly what we want from each other, what the coach wants from us, and what we're planning on doing. So it's excitement because it's a new city and it's a new team, but I don't think it's anything more than that for me.
Collin, similar for you where, in some ways it is sort of routine because you know what to expect and you know what it takes.
I can just reiterate what Noble said. I mean, all those things are reasons why you could easily kind of get butterflies, but I feel like this preseason's been great and kind of just learning a lot about the guys and being able to work with the staff and just all the new faces. I feel like once again we've just became so close in the short preseason that I feel like now this season we're ready to rock and roll.
No better way to end off this episode of Phoenix Rising Live than with a few more questions from the audience. If we got the mic back there. Okay, yeah, let's hear them. There we go. We'll get this mic on. Yeah, we're almost there. You can read them out, and I can also read them out here over as well.
First one is for both of you guys. In your opinions, what are the biggest strengths and weaknesses of Rising?
Okay, strengths and weaknesses of Phoenix Rising. Noble, you want to take the strengths?
All right. I think the biggest strengths we have, like, you mean as a team or what?
As a team coming into 25.
Yeah, I think our biggest strength is definitely attacking creativity. I think we have a lot of threats going forward, and I think we have a lot of, I would say, athleticism, like creating opportunities, whether it's in the midfield or offensively or even some of our defenders. I think, yeah. You want another one?
No. Well, I was just noting how you had to add in some of our defenders because Collin was sitting next to you, and I know if he wasn't here, you would have just left that off.
Yeah.
I mean, you. All right, so Collin, you hit me with a strength. One of the strengths that you see in this team, maybe that we haven't touched on heading into the 2025 season.
The strengths of the group, I would say, similar. Noble kind of hit the nail on the head there, but I've mentioned it several times, but it's just hard to go away from the fact that I just feel like we all have learned so quickly how to play with each other and understand everyone's games really, and learn each other's strengths, because it's also not easy in such a short time frame to just be like, okay, I know this guy wants to do exactly this and exactly that. But I feel like we've all done a great job of learning kind of what we all like to do in specific moments, and that's also something that the coaching staff has done a great job of. And so I feel like the things he said, as well as just kind of having that desire to win, I feel like that's also a huge piece, because the inter squad was a great kind of test for us, an example kind of showing that.
Yeah, and maybe Noble doesn't have to be a weakness per se, but maybe an area with a lot of new guys in this team, 2 of them right here, an area that you see as having some room to grow ahead of what is a long season, right, where that growth happens naturally over the course of a year.
Yeah, I think that maybe our weaknesses would probably just be maybe ourselves. I think we're so talented and have so much ability in our team that, I think the only weakness that would shut us down is letting each other down. I don't think that we necessarily have something that's weak, but I would say we will let each other down if we don't reach the expectations that the coaching staff and the club has for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, high expectations, no doubt about that. All right, next question from online.
Can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any fixtures circled on the calendar, big clash at home, or maybe an exciting away day?
Any games? Noble, you're nodding a little bit. Any games on the calendar circle for you?
Yeah, I would say July 4th against Lexington, just because playing one of my good friends, Nick Firmino, that I
Nice.
played with last year in Atlanta.
Atlanta,
So,
yeah.
I think that would be one I definitely have circled.
That's a great pick. Collin, for you, any games circled on the calendar?
Every game, because I want to win. So hopefully the big games at the end of November, that's the one I'll have circled. That's the one I want.
I think you just got one up, Noble. But we'll go to the next question from online.
I think this belongs to Noble. Raptors mascot or Devin Booker?
And we're going to assume some sort of 1v1 contest. Raptors mascot. What is the Raptors mascot? Is it just a giant raptor?
Yeah, I guess dinosaur, you could say.
Yeah.
But
I feel like you'd be foolish not to pick the dinosaur, to be honest.
I have to go with Devin Booker.
All right,
just
smart
because
man. Smart man.
it's Devin Booker.
The Suns did lose by 20 plus last night, but that's all right. I was there. All right. Any more questions from online? Or are we closed? We are good to go. I can't think of a better way to end this than on Raptors mascot versus Devin Booker. Collin Smith, Noble Okello, thank you both for doing this. Really appreciate it. Excited to watch you guys this season. Thank you for taking time.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And everybody out there watching, thank you all for joining. We're going to have more of these throughout the season, so let us know other guests that you want to see, questions that you have, all that and more coming up in 2025.